Writing your novel, although fulfilling, is a long and arduous process. And once you write the end on your manuscript, you can sit back and take a rest for a week or two. But it's certainly not the end of the process. When we write, sometimes ideas come quickly, we write quickly, we try to do a good job of making the prose readable and interesting, but inevitably we need to edit. As a general rule, for a new writer, you can expect to delete between 10 to 20% of your manuscript. This is quite hard to do because it's your baby, you've developed it and you've worked on it for many months. But it's absolutely essential that you remove words and phrases that don't belong in your story.
The first step in editing your manuscript is to edit it yourself. After a break of 1 or 2 weeks, you reacquaint yourself with the book. You're trying to catch mistakes that you didn't catch while you wrote it. They can be typos, or maybe you'll rewrite or delete whole chapters. The idea of having a break is so that you can come back with fresh eyes. Slow down, read it out loud. Read what you wrote at that time, and is it what you really meant to write? The next stage is to employ or join a group of beta readers. Beta readers are generally volunteers who will read your book and provide you feedback. They're not professional, but they can see potential issues and just let you know how the book flows. It's a good idea to find beta readers who are interested in the genre that you're writing about. You don't want readers just to say that's fantastic because they're friends or acquaintances. Try and join a group of beta readers on the internet, or if you go to Fiverr.com, you could probably hire a beta reader for $5 or $10. After this stage, you'll begin to think about professional editors. A development editor is someone who looks at the broad picture of your novel. They could improve suggestions on the structure and how to improve the flow and the rhythm of your book. This kind of editor will also look at the characterization, the dialogue, and the way that the plot and the subplots develop through the story. A copy edit is looking at the grammar. How are you saying things? And exactly what are you saying? What is the meaning? Does it make sense? A copy editor will correct your spelling, your grammar, and your punctuation. If you're not using certain language in quite the right way, they will also point this out. After all those editing steps have been completed, it's time to employ a proofreader. A proofreader is also called a line editor. At this time, you've caught many of the mistakes and the typos that you've already made, and you don't want to make a lot of changes now. The structure is sound and it flows really well. The line editor will go through the novel word by word and point out mistakes that you might have missed. It's quite specialised, and the people that do this kind of work are used to looking at the fine details of a story. There are several very good online applications that will help you to self-edit. The first one I'm looking at is called the Hemingway app. Ernest Hemingway was an American writer who tried to use as few words as possible to tell his story. His prose was direct and very appealing to readers. This application actually looks at the text that you paste in, and it tells you if there are too many words, if you use a passive voice instead of the active, too many adverbs, and similar things. It tells you if sentences are hard to read or if they're too long. Let's give it a try. I'm going to blank out the text and paste in another piece of text, which is actually a journalist talking about Hemingway. As you see, various sections of the text are highlighted, and the colour code tells us exactly what the problem is. If you put the mouse over the colour-coded word, you'll see some text arrive. The software will either advise you to replace it or just delete it altogether. The next piece of software is called Smart Edit. It does feature a 10-day trial, which should be enough for you to edit your finished manuscript. You enter your manuscript into the editor and it will give you suggestions. For example, at the bottom of the screen, you can see that it's listed all the sentences that contain the word carefully. In the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that the word only was used 47 times and another adverb, carefully, used 18 times. It lists other adverbs such as really, greatly, nearly and easily. It can save you a lot of time in finding the adverbs and many other things as well. How many phrases you repeat too often, how many words you misuse, how many words are redundant, and many more. One of my favourite applications is called AutoCrit. The interface on the home page is very intuitive. You simply paste in the text into the box provided, click the box Analyze my text for free, and then wait to see what happens. You need to enter your name and your email address, click Work to become published. I want to polish my writing style, and view the results. Even for a complete manuscript, it's very quick. And they give you a report. It's split up into pacing and momentum, repetition, how strong the writing is, the word choice, and dialogue. The overall score is some indication of how well you're doing in creating your prose. They'll report on things like the length of your sentences, with recommendations of what you should do. They tell you how many unnecessary words that you have and what you should delete or replace. They tell you the most frequent words used unnecessarily. In this case, it's that. Online editing tools are becoming more and more reliable and useful. I advise you to use them fully before you pay money for a professional editor. It's the combination of all these resources that make your story the best it can possibly be.